Hello everybody, Disciple here with Overwatch Curios. Titan was a bold, new sci-fi MMO project that Blizzard was working on for years, but ultimately decided to scrap due to the project not living up to quality and vision standards that Blizzard is known for. We're talking about a massive visionary undertaking with some of the best people in the gaming industry planning and working on the title and thousands of hours of work down the drain. But the game wasn't a complete loss, as some of the remnants of Titan were actually pulled into a new project with a completely different direction: Overwatch. Let's take a look at some of the things that Overwatch stole from Titan that we can recognize today and check out where the inspiration for some of our favorite heroes, abilities, and maps actually came from. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like so I can make my parents proud of me for the first time in my life. Anyway, let's get started. Overwatch is all about the heroes, and we know of one that was confirmed to be taken straight from Titan's development: Tracer. One of the 6 classes we know about in Titan was the Jumper, which we know to be an agile player class that had fast-firing weapons and teleportation abilities. As far as we know, this is the most direct translation from Titan to Overwatch in terms of mechanics and gameplay style. In the super early concept art for the Jumper, we can see the smaller, slimmer, and sleeker hero armed with dual pistols and a chest piece that actually looks pretty similar to Tracer's Chronal Accelerator. Light armor would have helped the hero be light on its feet, and it's pretty easy to assume that the hero would have been fast and mobile, and the artwork has a very kind of rebellious or inner city vibe to it with the baggy pants and the unbuckled shoes. The notes below the hero also gives us a clue as to how close the Tracer class actually is. Parkour Runner in particular makes perfect sense given Tracer's need for speed and fast gameplay mechanics, but it also leads to another hero more adept at the street life and the parkour mentality: Lucio. His skates and ability to ride on walls and objects seems like a pretty direct translation from the Jumper's kit in terms of being a parkour runner. Tracer was one of the first heroes put into Overwatch because the development team already had plans to put her in the game from the very beginning. The kits between the Jumper and Tracer were so similar that it was a pretty easy transition, and in fact the first version of Overwatch was just a lot of Tracers running around zapping each other with laser eyes. Reaper's another great example of the transition from Titan to Overwatch. The Reaper class in Titan is a creepy, dark power sort of hero that wields dual shotguns and seems to have had extensive surgery and alterations, probably using some sort of science or implants to manifest those dark powers or bring them to be. From the artwork, you can easily see he was designed to inspire fear and mystery and looks like a straight up psycho killer. Sounds pretty familiar when you check out Overwatch's Reaper hero and learn of his backstory. Unlike Tracer, there's no official word on exactly what the Reaper class's kit and abilities would have looked like, but judging from the images, we can kind of assume it'd be something pretty close to the hero Reaper in Overwatch, at least in theory. He still has the iconic double shotguns for up close and personal kills, as well as those enhancements we mentioned earlier. Wraith form and other superhuman-like abilities would probably fit into this class, especially because of the shadow theme. Unfortunately, some really awesome looking concept stuff didn't make the transition, like the awesome scythe he has in the concept image, or his dark, gothic armor style. The other 4 classes that were initially in the works for Titan were the Juggernaut, Ranger, Assassin, and Archon. Straight away, you can start to see some of the basic and advanced similarities and connections with some of Overwatch's most recognizable heroes. The Juggernaut from the concept art sure has a pretty striking resemblance to Reinhardt. Tall, super heavy armor, large body with a kinda smaller helmet, and a note saying, "Would it be more fun if he was mainly melee? Just put a hammer in his hands and a shield on his arm and you wouldn't be too far off from Reinhardt Wilhelm." The Ranger is a bit more of a stretch, but you can definitely see inspiration for Soldier 76 as the aging combatant with military-grade gear and armor, an automatic weapon, and a star on his shoulder to show his rank. He also seems to have some sort of cyber augmentation on his lower face that could be a predecessor to Soldier's tactical visor. The second you look at the Assassin class, you could think of Genji. A cyborg robot? Check. Sword? Check. Bow? Well, that was actually Genji's first initial iteration, where he did have a bow and a sword. It seems like Blizzard has a desire to make the cyborg ninja thing happen even well before Overwatch was an idea. The notes even read, "high-tech killing machine, stealth," which we know was a starting point for Genji and Hanzo before they became separate heroes. At first glance, the Archon might resemble something from StarCraft more than Overwatch, but bear with me for a moment. Slender and sleek with wings and a staff. That sounds pretty familiar, right? It might be pure speculation, but that sounds a lot like everyone's favorite Swiss healer, Mercy. Considering the rest of the lineup for Titan doesn't seem to be oriented towards healers at all, the Archon might have filled that role for the team. So it's not really too far of a reach to see the general design inspiration for the team here. When planning the very ambitious MMO, Blizzard's vision of the Titan world became that of a near-future Earth where humanity fought off an alien invasion and was still recovering. Out of the aftermath, 3 factions formed and players would join one of those factions, waging a cold war over control for the planet. Zones for the game were planned all over the place, like in the United States, Europe, South America, Australia, with familiar but futuristic locations throughout. Blizzard had planned to make this world huge, adding zones and areas to the game with expansions and updates over time, similar to the way World of Warcraft and other MMOs tend to put out their content. Which is pretty much par for the genre, but on a much bigger scale in this case. The general theme of Titan's world translates right into Overwatch. It's a near-future Earth, it's an Omnic uprising instead of an alien invasion, and there are locations around the world to fight in that are generally realistically based, but a little futuristic. Although the factions didn't really make it in, because there's not much of a reason to have factions in a first-person shooter game. You do have Omnics, Overwatch, and the Talon organization, so maybe those were the remnants or offshoots of the 3 factions that were present in Titan. While the world of Titan seemed much darker and more post-apocalyptic with a ton of futuristic tech and sci-fi settings, most of that seemingly didn't make it over. The general theme, location, and backstory did, however, only molded to something much more refined that fit Overwatch's vision and gameplay a lot closer. Titan's backstory took place in a near-future Earth, with locations around the world being the setting for all sorts of gameplay elements. Numbani was one that did make a transition into Overwatch, but it definitely went through the paces before it did. Artist Peter Lee, who's worked on several Blizzard franchises by creating concept art pieces and character art, created an image of Numbani which was, at that point, a super high-tech city in Africa. The most technologically advanced city in the world, actually. The concept took a very different turn into a more familiar direction as the team filled in the story and environment of Numbani for Overwatch. From a techno-metropolis more akin to dystopian sci-fi movies, to the center of peace and harmony between man and machine, full of life, light, and cleanliness. You can imagine the first Numbani concept being something closer to a city in Blade Runner and other sci-fi films depicting overcrowded streets and high-tech devices all over the place. Instead, Numbani ended up to be a tech-friendly sanctuary for all of Overwatch's inhabitants to live. The concept art never turned into anything in Titan, and of course saw the light of day early on in Overwatch development. The maps and areas in Overwatch are all super detailed and highly functional, but it's interesting to wonder what other environments and locations Blizzard had planned for the MMO, as well as what concepts from Titan may still linger as inspiration for future maps and environments, or ones that are in the game that we never even knew about. We know that during Titan's development that hundreds of people from all over the gaming industry and beyond were brought in to help build this ambitious IP and keep with Blizzard's normal standards of quality. A vast majority of the Overwatch team today worked on Titan in some form throughout its 7-year development period. When the decision came down to scrap the Titan project and move on to something else, most of the massive team were reallocated somewhere else inside Blizzard or to the general gaming industry. A much smaller and tighter-knit team was created out of the ashes, so to speak, and development on Overwatch began. The original team that worked on Titan was devastated at its cancellation. These are long-time game industry professionals that were used to working on AAA titles, being complete and of very high quality, so to watch something they'd worked on for nearly a decade be scrapped was a huge blow to their creative cohesion. Many of the team members were demoralized. However, the team that remained to create Overwatch had an opportunity to redeem themselves and make Blizzard proud. They had another chance to really buckle down, create an IP that was super focused rather than an overreaching, massive project. The new team started their work and went dark up until the Overwatch reveal in 2014 at BlizzCon, which was actually the first time that I got to try out Overwatch myself, and I absolutely loved it. Blizzard fans and really the entire industry were completely caught off guard at the announcement, and we were all really pleasantly surprised to see what had come after the Titan project failed. Even though many fans still want and wish for a game like Titan, and I can't say that I wouldn't play it either, Blizzard realized that even though the project's development lasted a very long time, it just wasn't developing into the game they'd envisioned. You could argue that while Titan was a bold project from the beginning, it was an even bolder move to stop the project mid-development and reassess what the team's visions and goals really were. The move to a smaller, more refined team to make a smaller, more refined game led to be one of the most successful shooters currently released, using some of the best parts of Titan to really knock it out of the park, and at this point it's grown to over 25 million players. Given the game's overall success as a shooter, it definitely seems like Blizzard made the right call. Well, I hope you guys really liked this video and talking a little bit about what Titan was and how Overwatch stemmed from it. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe for more future Overwatch content. Let me know what you guys think about Titan and if you guys would like to play it yourselves. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.